Yeah, so I'll be starting soon. Just give another 3 minutes before I start talking. Um, and then we'll take it from there. I'm trying to create a watch party on my wall, but I don't know how to do it. My ignorance on technology is just embarrassing. Uh, yeah, anyway, thanks to Elder Mvuzo for inviting us and for conceptualizing the idea that during this Youth Month, we need to share ideas about that have to do with young people. We want to thank you, Elder Mvuzo and the Mvuzo Ministry, for the work that it is doing. And we pray that his work may grow. And we ask that, this is me, this is not the Mvuzo Ministries. If you've got donations or any form of support you could give to the ministry, please do not hesitate to get in touch with Mvuzo. And please lend your support. He's doing some great work focused on young people dealing with issues of disability, which are issues that are important in our society. So please make sure you come in and support. Thank you, Sandra, for coming through. We'll be talking about the importance of education. Importance of education. Maybe before we start, I should just give people. I decided to take a different approach today. I'm going to start anyways. I've decided to take a different approach today and do something that I usually don't do. Something that I usually don't do. Against my better judgment. I don't love doing it because sometimes people can misunderstand it. Sometimes when we talk about education and the importance of education, it's easy to to read, from big books, brilliant ideas about education. I thought today, maybe before I do that, something that I don't want to do today, maybe I should share with you my personal journey with education in South Africa. Maybe I should just do that. My personal journey, my personal story with education. So that people get a. So when we talk about the importance of education, we're not talking about abstract ideas in some books. We're talking about lived experiences. I want to share with you my lived experience with education, so that people get a sense. Sometimes people see us, in different platforms talking. People saying, hey, this guy is Dr. Molefe, and all of that. And people sometimes they can think, there's something extraordinary about us, or we are blessed of God, you know, and miss the real humanity and how ordinary my life and the life of many other people that we think are extraordinary, how ordinary those lives are. How ordinary those lives are. So today, I think that's the approach that I want to take, just to share with you the importance of education from my own perspective as an individual, from my own perspective as an individual, my life story, my journey until I got to where I am. I'm not far at all, but I think there are many young people who are much younger than me, who are looking for encouragement, who want to get, issues about the importance of education. And for me to share my story in this platform, I think it will help some people. So that's the approach I'm going to take today. I'm not going to be complicated, discuss concepts to confuse people. My approach today is going to be a basic one where I share my life history, my story, and encourage young people about some of the challenges, some of the victories, and, the journey that I went through. I think that's what I will be doing today, just to share my story, so that sometimes we gain courage, we believe in ourselves, and stuff like that. That's what I'm going to be doing. Okay, let me start. So I was born in Soweto. I won't say when. I was born in Soweto. I was born in Soweto in Baragwanath Hospital. You know, so I was born as a young man. I grew up there. I grew up in Joburg in Soweto between three areas. I grew up in Soweto. I spent some time in the villages in the borders of Gauteng and Mpumalanga. There's a small town there called Balfour. I don't know. There was a squabble about whether Balfour is going to fall under Gauteng or Mpumalanga. I don't know how that was resolved. But I was born in the village. I spent 2 years in the village. It's called Modderbelt there. And then I came back to Joburg. And then then I stayed between Orange Farm. It's a small township, out at the outskirts of Joburg. It's the last township before you leave Joburg to go to the Val. I stayed there, and then I went back to Soweto. So that's pretty much my childhood. Um, when I was growing up in Soweto, the earliest memory I have of myself, I was staying with both my mother and father, and then my mother left. I don't know why she left. And my father also left. You know, my father left because he had a he had a mental illness. He had a mental illness. So he was schizophrenic. And then my father was taken to a mental institute. And then that's when I went to Balfour. I started grade one. I started grade one at a school called Molalatladi, the Tswana school, Molalatladi. Started grade one. Then when I was supposed to do grade two, that's when I was moved to the villages. So I went to the villages. So the first encounter I had with school was at Molalatladi. I didn't go to crash or preschool. I didn't go to crash or preschool. Um, I didn't do those things. I remember I used to stay at home while my friends went to crash. I think it had to do with money. It was not expensive then, but I don't think they could afford it at home. And then I was at home, and I was not bothered. I loved to play, and I played. And then I started grade one at Malatladi in Soweto, a Tswana medium school. I passed grade one. When I was supposed to go to grade two, that's when my father had other challenges, and my mother left. She never quite explained to me why. And then I went to Balfour. I did my grade one again. Why? Because now I had to do it in Zulu and not in Tswana. And I started doing it in Zulu. I did grade one, grade two there, and I finished those. And then I came back. I did my higher primary in Soweto, Nanda Primary School. Nanda Primary School, and I finished that as well. Um, I finished that, and then I went to higher primary school. I left Soweto. I went to Orange Farm. I did grade standard 3 or grade 5. Yeah, grade 5. I passed, fortunately, and then I left and I went back to Soweto. Finished my high schooling year there, and school was going. One of the things that I must say, school was going very well for me. I was doing relatively well, and it was important for me because then I was staying with my father. When he came back from the hospital, I was just staying with him, and I was doing those grades with my father. Then my father couldn't work; he was a sick pensioner. He was on sick pension, so I stayed with the pensioner. So, so, so one of the things that I never had, and this is a very important point, and I think it will encourage some people. I never really had a stable family. I never had that kind of stable family. You know, I mean, the only time I remember staying with both my parents was when I was doing grade one, and after that, that was the end of it. And until now, I have never stayed with both of them. You know, And then when I was doing higher primary, I was staying with either my uncle or my father. So when I was doing grade 6 and 7, I was staying with my father, just the two of us. And then I finished higher primary school, and I went to high school. I was still staying with my uncle for grade 8. Grade 9, I went back to stay with my father in Soweto. And that was it. I went to school. And then when I was doing grade 10, I became a Christian. That's when I became a Christian. When I was doing grade 10, I became a Christian. I became a Christian. I started preaching and also doing my schoolwork. Grade 10, 11, and I got to grade 12. Fortunately, I passed grade 12. I passed grade 12. So what Christianity did for me at that time, and that's why I always love to emphasize this, is that it secured me from a lot of temptations I could face you as a young person. And then sometimes religion is such a useless thing. It's useless thing. You think people are just singing and clapping hands and reading, but sometimes it has important values that can protect you as a young person. That's what it really did for me. No proper structure at home, or even if it was not the best. So what Christianity did, it gave me values. Uh, I never got into smoking. I never got into alcohol. I never got into crime. And these were things that were available around me. These are things that I could have done. But because of the lessons I received from Christianity and the church, this protected me. And because my focus was at school. Um, I was at school, and that really, really, really helped for me, and really helped me, to focus on my schoolwork and work on my schoolwork. And then that's it, and that's it. So what Christianity did for me as a religion, as an institution, it gave me a place where I could explore my talents. It gave me a place where I learned important values, about how to live one's life. I was struggling with questions of identity, very troubling questions of identity. You know, people who are dark like me, we know in townships, people don't quite appreciate you. Those are questions I had to grapple with, as a young boy. And Christianity helped me to deal with those questions. You know. I remember the verse by Paul, I am what I am by the grace of God. Those were verses that really started helping me to rethink my identity. So I was grappling with those issues. Um, and because my family was the poorest in my street in Soweto. Was the poorest. I mean, we were the last house in my street years after to receive electricity. So when electrification happened, other houses got electricity, but we couldn't afford it, so we didn't have electricity. Right? So we were the only house in my street. Remember very well that didn't have electricity. We're still using candles. Until years later that another person helped us, and then we could afford electricity. So just our conditions of poverty. I was just staying with my father who was mentally ill. Those kinds of challenges, you understand? But one thing was very clear to me. I had my Christian values. I started reading the Bible, reading the material from the Spirit of Prophecy, and also reading my books. I got into a culture that helped me with that. I had good friends who surrounded me, and then I did that, and then I finished high school. When I was doing grade 10, I joined the debating team. When I joined the debating team, I was a nobody in the debating team. There were stars there. There were serious stars of the debating team. So I was just part of the debating team. Grade 11, I was just part of the debating team. I was still not a star, but there were serious people who were real stars in the debating team. Grade 12, things changed. Grade 12, things changed. Now, the people who were stars in the debating team, they used to win because one of our teachers, and I won't mention his name, very smart and brilliant guy, used to write speeches for them. Now the competition changed. Now they couldn't write competition. You're given an hour away from the teachers to prepare your speech. And now those people who were stars were good readers. They were not thinkers. And that's how some of us were saying, my guy, we think you've got something that you can offer in terms of thinking. So please come join the team. You're one of the speakers. That's why I became one of the speakers. and I became one of the speakers. So, so, so the debate was to happen at Wits. So our coach was at Wits University, and some of the debate was to happen at Wits. So we had to go meet our coach. I'm doing matric at that time at Wits. So I went to Wits, and we met my coach. While I was there, that's when I got forms to apply at Wits. I didn't have a plan to apply for university, didn't even have a plan. But that's how I got the forms to apply at Wits. And now, because the debate was happening at Wits, so I left with the forms. I got the 200 and I filled in the form. I applied. I applied for a space at Wits. I applied for a space at Wits. We debated. Unfortunately, we won the debate. We won the Gauteng Championships. That was 2001. We won the Gauteng Championship, and then I debated until to the national final. I lost to Northern Cape in the final. I lost. So that was my matric year. So I got to it by accident of being involved in the debating team. Then I finished my matric, and then I went to Wits. I got accepted at Wits. So before I go, maybe another important detail. So my father is a sick pensioner. I think he was earning about 600 when I was doing matric. So he couldn't even afford to. I was using a train to go to university because he couldn't afford to pay for a taxi. So I was using a train. But one important detail I omitted. While I was in class in matric, I applied for a scholarship, John Smith Educational Trust, which was administered, I think, by FNB. I applied for that. And in fact, that was by accident. One guy was applying and I said, man, can I see? And I got the forms and applied. The guy who came with the form didn't get it. I got it. So I got about 20,000 to go to study at Wits, 20,000. Then I was accepted Wits. Then I had a scholarship. Then I got into Wits. I did my first year. These are so I got to Wits. When I got to Wits, some important details. Because my marks were not great. So I couldn't get into what I wanted to do, So what I did, I then got into a BA degree. Got into a BA degree. My first year I did a BA degree. I did a first year degree. Then I did the maths course that I needed to do. Then I passed. Then I went. Second year, I did computer science, maths major, applied maths, and philosophy. I did those four. This is my second year maths. I think this was 2003. So by June, I got kicked out of computer science. I dropped applied mathematics because I couldn't hear what they were discussing. They were talking, but I didn't hear what they were saying. And I also failed maths. So by end of the year, I passed one course. I passed philosophy. So I failed everything in maths philosophy. I remember I didn't even show my father my results. I hid them. I hid the results. But I had failed. I just passed philosophy. Even when I say I passed philosophy, first year when I was doing philosophy, I got 54. Remember, a friend of mine, Chris Mtseng, I asked him to check the results for me. He said, hey, in fact, go B. And I said, what did I got? And he said 54. And I was celebrating. So I think I was expecting 80 or 70 or something. I was just happy. I passed. I got 54. In fact, I think I got the lowest marks in that philosophy class. I got the lowest marks in that philosophy class. In fact, let me tell you something that's interesting about that philosophy class. When I was doing my first year philosophy, 2001, at Wits, were taught by Professor Leon. So Professor Leon comes to class and he says, look, I've been teaching for more than 20 years. This is the best class I've ever taught. This is after I wrote our first essays. And I'm thinking, wow, I'm part of the best class. Means I've got something to offer. Only to find out that I was the only one who had failed, and that essay. I remember I got 40, I got 47 for that essay, So this was the best class, but I was just the black sheep in the class. So this is me trying to show you so that So I did my philosophy. I was doing well in philosophy, and then second year I tried applied maths and computer science, and didn't work out. Just didn't work out. It was I was doing BSc now, so I did BS. Okay, I want to be finished in about 15 minutes. Just, yeah. So I want to summarize and give you what I think are important things to take home. So BSc, then I did another year of BSc where I took philosophy, psychology, and other courses that were not BSc related. When I was advanced, they said, man, you won't be able to graduate with BSc degree because your course, your modules are not BSc. Then I jumped back into the BA stream. Note, I started my first year at Wits University in 2002. I finished my first degree in 2006. All right. So it's 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006. It took me 5 years to do a 5 years to do a 3-year degree. Took me 5 years to do a 3-year degree, right? And even then, so that's the first point that I want you to appreciate. This is the first point I want you to appreciate, right? So I really struggled with my first degree. It was a serious struggle. It was a serious struggle. Um, it was a serious struggle. I was struggling with quantitative subjects, your maths, your statistics. I was not struggling with qualitative subjects like your philosophy, your psychology, your sociology. I was not struggling with those at all, right? So my mind was wired along those and not so much around quantitative stuff, right? So I finished my degree not in record time. It took me 5 years to finish my degree. Even then, I was getting very average marks. I was getting very average marks. For my first years, first semester I got 54, second semester I got 63. Second year, I remember the professor called me aside and said, man, you are taking chances in the exam. You are lucky that you passed. Remember, I got 55 for my second year second year course in philosophy. I got 55. I don't remember what I got the second semester. One thing I remember, it was a difficult course, the second semester module. I think it was philosophy of mind. Psychology, I was getting 60s along there. Those were my majors now in BA. And yes, I finished those. But note something very important. When I was supposed to go to my honors, I didn't qualify for honors in philosophy. I didn't qualify for honors in philosophy. I didn't qualify. They needed 65. I think I had 63. 63. I didn't qualify. But because I was consistent, I was always early in class. I participated the best way I know how, and the department had formed some kind of relationship with me. They were able to say, "Man, we know your abilities. We know you are committed. We'll give you a chance to do your honors." You see, and then I did my honors in 2007. I finished my honors. I finished my honors in 2007. Um, then the lights were starting, to be bright. 2008, I went to this business school to do another qualification. It's called a PDM, Postgraduate Diploma in Management. I went and I did that. I finished that, but I couldn't afford to pay for all of it in 2008. So I had an outstanding fee of about 13,000. The whole of 2009, I was not studying, looking for that money. Whole of 2009, not studying, looking for that money. It was a struggle, believe you me. The times when I was praying, frustrated, not knowing what's coming, what's not coming. Because in my mind, I thought if I get that qualification from the West Business School, it will be easy for me to get a job, And it was a struggle. Then that December of 2009, I talked with my friends. I spoke with my friends, and then they contributed. I mean, I remember I talked to 4 guys. I'll just mention one for now. Sizokum contributed, and then I paid that thing, and I got the qualification. And I started looking for a job. I didn't get a job. I remember there was a day where I walked in Houghton, The entire street, the long street in Gauteng, the same street as where the Mandela Foundation is. I walked from the beginning of that street right to the end until I got to the Mandela Foundation. I didn't get a job, you know. I didn't get a job. And then that was 2010, I enrolled for a master's degree. Master's degree, not in philosophy, in development studies. Did that master's in development studies, 2010. I pushed it, I finished it. I pushed it still, and I was hoping that if I do development studies, you know, things will be easy. I'll easily get a job. Still no job. Then I wanted to go back to philosophy now to do my PhD. I went to the West Department of Philosophy. They said, no, they want me to do a master's in philosophy. I thought, no, I won't do 2 master's degrees. Right? And then I didn't do that. Then I went to UJ. UJ said, no, we can give you a space in the PhD program only if you do what they call RPL, recognition of prior learning. Recognition of prior learning. I said, no, it's fine. I did recognition of prior learning. Recognition of prior learning. Now, there are certain things that are in the background that you're not seeing. Let me bring them to attention quickly. At this stage, most of my peers are working, I'm not working. Note that. Most of my peers are working and I'm not working. At this stage, I'm old enough to be taking care of myself. At this stage, I've got serious family problems. I can't stay at home because I've got a fight with my brother, and my brother we're fighting about the house, you know, fighting about the house. I remember at some point my brother said that I'm not a legitimate child of my father, and therefore I can stay there, but I'm not really at home, you know, something like that. So you can see that was very stressful, you know. So these are things that are happening in the background. I'm trying to sort out my life. These are challenges that I'm facing, you know. So one of the biggest challenges I had to face was the challenge of homelessness, you know. You know, so you know, I won't get into details, but it's just complicated. That was the mess behind me. So I did the RPL, then I stayed with my brother in Orange Farm. We had a fight, and then he chased me out at night at 10, you know, and then I was rescued by by my girlfriend then. She rescued me, took me to a place. I was really stranded. I had nowhere to go. And then I did the RPL, I finished it, then I started my PhD. And before I started my PhD, I went to do a week of prayer in Solusi. And I was praying, God, I want to do something with my life. What can I do? And then there and there, I got an answer that I should do my PhD. You know, those were some of the moments where I really felt God talking to me. You know, then I went back to South Africa, and I went to UJ. They said, "Man, you've got money to do a PhD." Someone is, you know, I think my supervisor had given me some money to do PhD. And then I went to the res office. Remember, I still started with the issue of accommodation. I got they said, no, man, you've got a place to stay, you know, you've got a place to stay. And I thought they would want for a deposit. No deposit at all. No deposit at all. Then I had a place that is called my own. So with the first 5 years at university, I was traveling by train. First 5 years, I was traveling by train, right? Then the second 5 years, when I was at varsity, I was squatting, you know, at friends' places. You know, I squatted at a friend of mine's Tekumalo. I squatted with Jerry Malebane. I squatted with Kujo Malebane. I squatted with Elliot Meleba. You know, all of these, my friends. I squatted with them. I'm still friends with them today. I stayed, you know, we used to share. That was the life we lived then. You know, we shared everything. I never paid rent. I see people who are squatting today pay rent. I never paid rent. These were friends. And these were people that God brought to my life to really help me in my struggle. So it was not a smooth struggle. It was challenges. But, you know, I was fired up, you know, to do something with my life. I was fired up to bring a particular change in my life. I was fired up to define myself for myself. I was fired up to say, I'm not going to fail because of my circumstances. I was fired up because I wanted to bring meaning to lives of people who were important to me, my mother, my father. I wanted to achieve something for them. I wanted to achieve something for God, you know, because He had blessed me with so much talent, with so many opportunities. I wanted to do something for that. I was fired up. I wanted to do something for a black society that is looked down upon. I was really fired up, you know. I just had this fire to use this opportunity to change my life circumstances, you know. I just had this fire to say, you know, I could do something, tough as it may be, complex as it may be, you know, undefined as it may be. You know, I thought, I just want to do something for me. I owe it to me to do this thing. You know, I was not, you know, sometimes we don't appreciate opportunities like education because we're thinking we're doing it for our parents, but ultimately it's about you. It's you trying to define yourself. Is you trying to create a mark in the world? Is you trying to improve your circumstances? Is you trying to eat from a different plate? Is you trying to reach different places, reaching heights that were never before expected? And it was not easy. I was struggling at school. I was not an A student, but I kept fighting. I kept fighting. I kept fighting. And the most important lesson I discovered about this fighting that I was in was the fact that the more I struggled about things, the better I understood them. You know, so my mastery was not revealed when I was writing exams. My mastery was revealed when I was by myself and thinking, oh, now I understand what's happening, right? That's how my mastery came about, right? By the time I got to my PhD, through all of these struggles, you know, I got a sense that God was preparing me for something great. Because when I got into my PhD, I didn't struggle at all. And people say the PhD is the most difficult thing ever. For me, it was the easiest thing ever. Right? Because in my thinking, it was God preparing me for it. It was God preparing me for it. Right? I was able to finish my PhD below record time. And you know, this thing for me was a miracle because by the time I finished my PhD, you know, by the time I finished you know, I remember one professor from UJ came to visit where I was working at the time. Says, man, he was so surprised. He didn't think, you know, I would finish it so soon. And it was finished, you know, it was really finished, right? It was really finished. So for me, why education was important as is important, it's because one, as a black child, I knew that I don't have connections. My father didn't go to exile. My father is not a businessman. My father is not rich. My father didn't have a professional job. My mother had struggles, which she never quite explained to me, but she's my mother nonetheless. I didn't care about her struggle, you know? So for me to be able to navigate life, I needed to look at the opportunities I had at my disposal. And one of those opportunities, you know, that I was granted by was education, you know, was education. And that for me was an opportunity I could use for myself, for 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 my other commitments, like my Christian commitment, and for my community at large, right? And when I took that opportunity, I embraced it with both hands. I embraced it with both hands, right? Because it could do something for me. It could do something for me. I'm standing here, I'm talking to you. It has done something for me. It has done something for me. One of the biggest fears I had personally, one of the biggest fears I had, and that's why I'm saying God, I see God in my journey. It's that the fact that people used to ask me. I remember one friend of mine, one friend of mine, brother. We used to go to church together in Snawan and Mdora Mahamba. One day asked me, "So man, where are you gonna work? Where are you gonna work? What are you gonna do?" And I didn't know what I was gonna work. And he was asking this because I was doing philosophy. What are you gonna do? You know, what are you gonna do? I didn't know. I was just doing philosophy and I was just in love with it. And that time I remember I was doing external science. So you know, you didn't have to be a genius to know that you'll work in the financial sector or the insurance sector. It was obvious what he was going to do, right? But I didn't know, and I couldn't even tell my mother what this philosophy thing was about, you know. But but when I got into that thing and I became, you know, not so bad at it, you know, I'm not the greatest philosopher ever, but when I got into it and I started doing it and I started, you know, becoming better at it, right? Before I even finished my PhD, I got my first permanent job. You know, I got my first permanent job, and ever since then, you know. So and also just maybe I started working. When I started working, I was 32 years old. So I was 32 years old when I started working. So, and also, I was 32 years old. Most of my colleagues started going to work around 2000, and my peers started 2005 or 2006. So I was years late, but I was not late. My opportunities were different from others, and the journey that God was preparing me for was different. And I embraced my journey, and I worked hard on that, and I focused on that, despite all the challenges I had, despite all the education limitations I have. Didn't have a lot of resources, but one thing I had, the commitment to the blessing that God gave me. That commitment was everything. That commitment was everything to me, that I could do something for myself. I could do something for myself. And so I think the message that I want to send out there to young people is that, look, a lot of us may not have a lot in the world to live for, you know. We may not have a good start, you know. But when you have a chance to go to school, to sit behind a desk, and you are given books to study, it's a chance that you could use to improve your life. It's a chance you could use to improve your life. I'm not saying it's going to work for everyone, you know. I'm not saying that it is a silver bullet that solves all the problems. I'm saying, and I want to make this point. Most of the people that I know, who are who I relate with, who I went to school with, they are relatively doing well. You know, they're relatively doing well. Right? They're relatively doing well. I'm not saying all of them, I'm saying most of them, they're relatively doing well. Um, so 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 if young people are out there and they're thinking about their lives, my advice would be education is very important. Doesn't always work. It's not an easy solution, but if you are committed to what you're doing and you're doing your best and you're giving it your all, it might work out for you. And look, and I want to make this point. I was doing philosophy, right? You know, I'm saying so it doesn't matter what you are doing. I was doing philosophy, and I worked hard on it. You could do history, you could do archaeology, you could do anthropology. Just make sure you work hard at it. Had I got proper mentoring, I could have finished my master's and gone overseas, to study overseas, I could have had better luck with scholarships. I got my first scholarship when I was doing 2012. When I was doing my, yeah, 2012. I got my 2013. I got my scholarship. NRF gave me some decent money that year, and then that's when I could, live a happy life as a student. But I was working hard. I was not. I would wake up at 9, 12 o'clock until 3 o'clock. I'm working. 3 o'clock in the morning, I was working every day because this is the only opportunity I had, So that's the message for me. Education is important, as a Black person, where we are, to say it's a tool you can use to change your life circumstances. And I'm a senior researcher today, and make no mistake, I'm still working very hard. I'm pushing. I'm happy, every year God sends young people that I talk to in the university. I'm talking to young people. So I worked at UKZN. I remember young people used to send me messages just appreciating the work I was doing in teaching them. So this work has put me in a place where I can touch directly people's lives. And now I'm talking to people who have similar or even worse backgrounds than me. A lot of people don't understand the work we do. We're like parents. I was talking to a friend of mine, and he says this student comes to his office, and I've seen that boy before, and he says, this boy said to me, can you be my father because I don't have a father? These are people who come to our space to learn. They're looking for brothers. They're looking, and this is the kind of impact that I'm having in lives of a lot of young people. So for me, it's not about the debates and all of that. Those are beautiful. I love them, but we're getting to shape young people's lives in these institutions. We are getting to minister differently. We're speaking to people's low self-esteem. We're talking to people who come from broken families. I come from a broken family myself. We're talking to people who 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 have no confidence that they can do anything in the world. So education for me gave me a voice, gave me eyes, gave me feet, gave me now my name. I see my name, printed in big, publishers' names, in New York, and I'm saying to myself, thank God that you have given me, the journey that prepared me for this, And because I've had this journey, now I understand the value of humility. Now I understand the value of listening to others. Now I've got the value of supporting others, So for me, I think the most important, when we talk about the importance of education, we're talking about taking it as a tool to improve ourselves and to improve our society, I'm not up for this thing of using education as a way to boast, as a way to tell people we went to school, as a way to speak fancy English, fake accents, as a way to tell people that we are carrying black cards, we're driving fancy. That's not what education is about, ultimately. Education, ultimately, it's about making us better people. It's about us changing. One of the greatest things that has happened to me was when I was able to say to my mother, all your life you've been a domestic worker. Can I at least be the one who pays your salary without you going to work? You know, for me, without even changing the word, the ability to be able to do those little gestures for your mother, for your father, being able to be there for your friends, for your family, to change their lives, be able to, to empower them. For me, that's what education is supposed to empower us so that we're able to empower other people. Education is not about knowledge and big theories. It's about how we become better people and are able to impact others in society. How our struggle teaches us to be sensitive to other people's struggle. How our struggle expands our empathy so that we feel for others because we know what they are going through. You know what I mean? So for me, that's the importance of education to make us better people, right? To make us better people and to encourage others in their struggles and in their journeys to say, you will make it. Even if you don't make it, we are here to support you, we'll pray for you. So I thought I should share that because sometimes we mystify things. We make as if things are easy, it's flowers all over. Life is a struggle. Choose your area, focus on that area, work on it. And for me, it was education at university. For you, it might be education where you are starting to build your own business. That's education. You meet a lot of stakeholders. You start understanding your clients. You start understanding what people need. That for me is education. It's knowledge that you know how to service people. Others might want to do ministry to empower, to change people's lives. Others might want to do a lot of other things. Others may just want to be writers. Others may just want to be speakers. All of those things are processes that you will have to go through a lot of things to get there, right? So it's about getting involved, getting committed, and doing your best in that. It does not always work, but the beauty of it is when you have done it for yourself and you have tasted there's both the joys and the pains of doing it. That nothing can remove that. Nothing can remove that. And the humility of always being grateful to know that you had so much support going through this. I won't lie to you and say I made this on my own. Important people who contributed to my life. This afternoon as I was working, I was thinking about one of them, Mam Tabia. I was thinking I owe this woman a call just to say I wanted to thank you for being the hand that God could use to improve my life. She came through for me in a great way. In my journey, she came through for me. So I thought when we talk about the importance of education today, to think about your own journey, let me share with you my journey with education. So in total, I went to university in 2001. I am still part of the university community in 2020. So this is 19 years in these institutions. And from the look of things, I'm going to be part of these institutions until I go to the grave. That's where I'm going to be making my contribution by educating the nation. So God bless you. God keep you strong in your journeys. Work on your vision, what you want to do with your life, develop yourself and invest yourself. So thanks a lot.